Good morning, my dear hookers. How are we this morning? So I've had a couple of questions and a couple of requests. So here I am fulfilling one of the requests this morning, and hopefully, I say this trepidatiously, hopefully another one this afternoon. So I had one person ask for pockets so far on. Thank you so much for watching the video. I do appreciate you, my dear subscriber. I've had one person ask for pockets on that granny shawl. So this morning we are going to make pockets. Now, a couple of rules of thumb that I have come across whilst making pockets is try to make them as close to the pattern as you're using so that they kind of blend in. Now, this one's going to be easy because we just made a granny poncho or granny shawl. So what we're going to do is this morning we're going to make pockets for that granny shawl. The oversized rounded granny shawl. Okay, so having said that, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to figure out what the best way to make them and so on and so forth. Now, because I used a 5.5, Penny, what are you doing? Goodness, silly Penny. Because we used a size 6 hook, which I believe is, was this one. Okay, we use that for the actual shawl itself. We are not going to be using that same size hook. We are actually going to be going down a full size, if not a 1.5. The reason for that is when you have ponchos, okay, or shawls, with pockets, I want the pockets to be sturdy enough that if you want to slip a phone in there or slip your wallet in there, as long as it's not too heavy and it doesn't weigh down that shawl or poncho. But we also don't want anything falling out. So the only thing that will fall out is a hook, but you can slip that through the actual granny squares. But if the only thing that's really going to fall out is, say, perhaps a lipstick, and that's going to fall out the front, not the back. So you've got to kind of be aware of that. So here is my leftover yarn. I kept it just for this reason. And I'm probably going to use a size 5. I think with this size yarn, where's my 4.5? Is that my, oh, that's my 4. Where's my 4.5? There it is. Dirty. Size 4.5. Now, if you take a look at these two, there's not a whole lot of difference in size, but it will make a difference. And you know what? The more I think about it, the more I'm going to use a 4.5. The reason I come down so far is because I do want these pockets to be very sturdy. So let's get started. So again, obligatory slip knot. There we go. And let's do this slower for all of you newbies out there. Try that, do that in camera range. There we go. So I'm just going to wrap that around. Hold on to that. I'm going to grab a hold of that bottom one after coming in from the top, and I'm going to slip it through. Slip knot is done. Okay. So now for these ones, because I'm using a much smaller hook, I am going to have to chain 5. Otherwise, I'm not going to have a big enough hole. That just sounded very wrong in my mind. I must have a dirty mind this morning. So chaining 5. Okay, we'll do that again. Sorry, I was doing it so fast. I always forget. So I've got one on there already. The knot itself, let's go back to the loop. There we go. This loop never counts as a chain. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Super easy. Okay, and again, this loop never counts as a chain. So I'm going to go back to that very first one I did. I'm going to grab a loop and I'm going to bring it through both those loops. Okay, there we go. Now there's our little hole. Now again, everybody knows I absolutely hate chaining, but with this one, because it's going to be an inside pocket, we absolutely could do a chain 2 and then start. But you know what? In the interest of keeping everything the same, I'm going to pull up a loop, do the twist, go through that hole, grab a hold of my yarn, pull it through, maybe, there we go. And then, I lost it. Hang on, sorry everybody. It's a very early in the morning for me. I started the day at 6, so there we go. Okay, let's start that again. So I pulled up a loop, I'm going to do the twist. I'm going to put it through the hole, grabbing my tail. I'm going to grab a loop. Then I'm going to pull through 2 and pull through 2. I know I kind of lost it there, but that's okay. Now I'm going to do 2 more to make my very, very first granny cluster, but these are just going to be regular double crochets. So there we go. Okay, I'm going to chain 1. And with this one, we are going to be turning after every round, but again, I want this to be quite tight. So we're going to be only chaining 1 in our corners, not chaining 2. It's going to give us a little bit more body to that corner. It's going to be a little more strength to that corner, and it's not going to be so loosey-goosey. Okay, so let's do our second granny cluster. 1, 2, and 3. Right, chain 1 and whoopsie, 1, 2, 3. Third granny cluster is now done. Chain 1. Okay, so we're almost done this first little bit. We're almost done our setup round. Okay, and we're going to do 1 more granny cluster, and then we've got our 4. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. Now again, because this time I'm not doing a chain 2 in the corner, we cannot do the half double crochet to join. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to that very, very first standing, that I did really, really super tight apparently. That first standing double, okay, we're going to get through both of the V's. We're going to bring it through, but we're not going to slip stitch. We're going to do a single crochet to join. That gives us the illusion of having a chain stitch there, okay? Now we're going to start our second round. Already done. Look at that. We've already got our first portion of the square done. And apparently I split my yarn. There we go. Oh, it's just a little taily thing. Sorry, I need to make this a little bit better. There we go. How's that? And you'll have to forgive me. I do have my curtains open a little bit because, oh my goodness, what a glorious, glorious day. I've been outside since 6 o'clock. It's just absolutely glorious today. All right, so second round, we're going to do the twist, put through the hole created between the 2. We're going to finish our granny cluster off. And again, we are only going to chain 1. Now, if you want this super, super, super tight, you do not have to chain 1 in between each granny cluster. You can leave it as non-chained. I think it works a little bit better if you do the chain. Without the chain, it gets a little bit too snuggly and it's too wibbly wobbly. I'm not a big fan of that. So we're just going to go into our second corner now after chaining 1, second corner, and we're going to do 1, 2, 3. There's our first granny cluster of the corner, chain 1, and remember that takes the place of that chain 2 that we used to create our corner, and then we're going to go back into that same chain 1 space and do a second granny cluster. Okay, oops, 1 more. There we go. Done. Now we're going to chain 1 and go directly into the next corner. Okay, how are we doing? Is everybody liking this so far? Super easy, super simple, just like making a granny blanket, anything really. So there's 1, chain 1 for the corner, and same granny cluster, or second granny cluster in the same chain 1 space. Okay, now you can kind of see already how much smaller that corner is by only doing the chain 1 space. The 2 granny clusters in it does open it a bit, but not as much. Okay, so chain 1, and again, we're going to do our granny cluster corner. So 1, 2, 3, chain 1 for our corner, and 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now we're going to chain 1 again, and we're going to come back into that first corner. Okay, and we're going to finish that corner by doing 1 granny cluster, and again we are going to be using a single crochet to join, not a slip stitch. So we're going to find our very first stitch and we're going to find both sides of that V in that standing double, okay? It's kind of hard to see that there. And we're going to grab a loop. Do not pull through that second loop. Instead, yarn over and pull through 2. And again, that gives us that illusion of a chain. Now we're going to flip again, and we're going to pull up a loop, do the twist, do our standing double crochet, okay? And that is all there is to it. That is how we make a pocket. But the real secret eventually will be sewing that pocket in, because I decided that I do like I didn't do this. So there's our first corner, but because we've got a chain 1 space, we have to do a granny cluster in that chain 1 space. Okay, chain 1. Now we're going to do the corner clusters. So 1, 2, 3, chain 1 for the corner, back into that same chain 1 space and do 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to do that all the way around. Chain 1, find our next chain space. It's not a corner, so we're going to do just a single granny cluster in there. All right, chain 1. Now we're back at our next corner. So we're going to do a granny cluster corner. So 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, not chain 2. And same chain 1 space, we're going to do a second granny cluster. Okay? Excuse me. And now into our side. 1, 2, 3. Chain 1 in our almost last corner already. These first ones are so easy to do. So 1, 2, 3, chain 1 for the corner, and in the same stitch, 1, 2, and 3. So chain 1 again. Now we're going to do our side chain space. 1, 2, 3. Basically, all we're doing is we're making a granny square, but it's just going to be a little tighter. And you can kind of see that the ends kind of want to flip up on you. Once we get that center in there, it will be fine, I promise, okay? So let's finish that last corner, the last portion of the first corner, I guess. And we go 1, 2, and 3. So again, all this is just a super tight, we're going to find our first standing double, super tight granny square. That's all this is. We're just going to make it as big or as small as you want, okay? Now, my phone, I get to make mine a little bit smaller. If this was going to be mine, I wouldn't make mine a whole lot bigger than about 5. That's 1, 2, 3. So about 7 rounds I would make mine, because I have the Samsung Flip. So my phone actually folds in half. But I know that this is going to go onto my table for kind of, it was supposed to be a special order, but the lady backed out on me, so now it's just going to go on my table. It's going to be very quick, very easy. I'll still have it ready for Friday. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do one more round, and then I will leave you to make it as big as you want and go from there, okay? And then I'll come back to you when I've got mine as big as I want. We're going to be making as many of these as you want. Obviously, 1 for sure, but if you want one on either side, and I haven't washed my shawl yet, so I can still keep it out of the wash. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. Life happened yesterday, as usual. All right, so let's do the next round. So I'm going to flip that over. I'm going to pull up, do the, oopsie, missed. Do the twist. I'm going to find that middle spot. I'm going to do my standing double. I'm going to do 2 more just to finish off the granny cluster. There we go. And as I was saying, and I'm going to each chain space on the side, hang on, let's just do that really quickly, just in case some of you haven't watched my granny square, my very first granny square video. All we're going to do now with each and every successive side, we're going to have one more hole that we're going to have to do a granny cluster in. Okay. So we saw that we didn't have any granny clusters on the side. Then we create that with the second row, we actually created the sides. Now with this third row, we have one. With this fourth row, we'll have two. With the fifth row, three, and so on and so forth. Okay. All right. Oops. There we go. All right. So let's carry on. And we've got granny cluster in the chain space. Oopsie. Split the yarn. There we go. And then chain one and granny cluster in the next chain space. And like I said, you don't have to put those chain spaces in. What happens with that, okay, is you have a much more squishy granny square, okay? So, excuse me, sorry about that. So instead of having, these bigger holes that literally a chapstick or a lipstick will fall through those. Absolutely it will. Absolutely it will. But it's not too bad. I must have done that chain space rather loosely because it looks like it's a little bit bigger than this next one is. And that's fine too. It happens all the time. Sometimes your chain spaces are a little loosey. Sometimes they're a little tighter. It's fine. We are not perfect. So be kind to yourself. If your granny squares are not perfect, it just means that you're not perfect. And nobody, let's be honest, I have yet to meet one perfect person. I've met a couple that were close, but nobody is ever going to be perfect. And that's why I hesitate to use the word master hooker, because my mom is the closest thing I've ever come to being a master hooker. And even she has made artistic license mistakes. They were unexpected blessings in her work. And she usually says a negative word and just goes forward because she's not going to take out 15 rows to catch the mistake she made. So she calls it artistic license, so therefore I call it artistic license. All right, so let's get to our next corner. Okay, so as I was saying, I like the pockets being on the inside. It's kind of like a little hidden secret in women's clothing, because let's be honest, manufacturers, designers, or what have you, they say that having a pocket on something is going to ruin the lines of it. Whatever. Isn't that just a bunch of horse nuggets? And so I prefer everything that I make. No, not everything. I apologize. Not everything I make has pockets, but darn close to it, especially when it's made out of the Red Heart Comfort or the Bernat's other stuff, even the Bernat Premium, which is a much finer yarn than this, and even some of my woolen stuff. Did I bring it downstairs? I did not. Darn it. I thought I had. I started a new special order, and it is just gorgeous. I know I showed you guys the ball of it in one of my videos. It's like petting a cloud. It is so soft and so cute. One of the favorite people that I do watch on a regular basis, his mom has a new puppy and they called her, Shelby Dawn. That's the puppy's name. He's still one of my favorite YouTubers, and they got his mom puppy because sadly she lost her little fur baby. It was so sad. It was just a sad time for everybody. So they found her the cutest little thing, and she looks like she's as soft as a cloud. She's just adorable, and she's so cute. And the yarn that I have, it's wool and cashmere, and there is one tiny line of polyester through it. I think the polyester is like 5%. Basically, it's just to make sure that the wool actually stays and doesn't thread apart. It's not the most expensive wool I have ever purchased, but it's pretty close. I got it for a silly good deal. I must confess, I did try something that I never thought I would ever try. Please remember, I am not sponsored by anybody yet. So when I mention a company name like Bernat or Red Heart or Karen or Michael's even, I get nothing. There's no links at the bottom. I'm not sponsored in any way. I just tell you where I know to shop for good things. Okay, we can chat. We can stitch while we chat. Okay, so that side is done. Now I'm going to do my corner. But I did decide this time that I would try one of my fellow hookers from the market. She has been extolling the virtues of a very, very inexpensive site for yarn. And I was worried. I thought, oh, I don't know. I do not know. Because they don't have as much information as I would like about the product in the description. Sorry, I think I just got a scam notification. I'll have to check it later. Something about a missing door number. I don't have a door number here. Anyway, I live in the middle of nowhere, so I have a P.O. box number. Anyway, okay, so here we are again. It's really nicely sitting down properly. I have no worries that this is going to sit down beautifully and lay flat unless you have something in it. Now, I do want to make this a little bit bigger. So like I said, we've got 1, 2, 3. This is our 4th round. Because I want people to be able to put their phones in it without feeling like they're going to lose it, I might actually take this one to 7. We shall see. Okay. But I did order from this yarn. It's not a yarn company. Definitely not a yarn company. It's an everything company. It's not Wish. It is not Wish. I did make the mistake of ordering yarn from Wish before. I will never, ever, ever, ever do it again. Wish is just don't. The yarn balls are deceptively small from the pictures. I'm not sure whether they used baby hands or whether they used a young girl's hands, but the yarn balls looked deceptively large on Wish's website. And I thought, oh, that's not too bad. It looks like it's probably got 250, 300 yards to it. Yeah, it didn't even have 50 yards to it. When I put it, the ball that looked like this big in my hand, it didn't even cover my palm. So just don't order from Wish. However, this other site, again, terribly inexpensive site, I actually ordered this new yarn from it, and the quality and the quantity that I got was surprising. Absolutely surprising. Okay, so we're back at the beginning again. So again, we're going to find that top V of our standing double. We're going to go through both sides of the V. This one's a little easier to see. Oopsie, there we go. So I've got both sides of my V. I'm going to grab a loop, and I'm going to yarn over and put through 2 and switch. Alrighty, so hang on, there we go. Again, I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to do the twist. I'm going to yarn over and yarn over. There we go. So there's our first one done. The website that I went through is Temu. Now, I had heard some pretty scary things about Temu's app, so I did not download the app. I did use Google. Yes, I used Google as the website that I went through. I just went to Temu's website, and I was very pleasantly surprised when they showed the yarn balls on the site. I thought, okay, well, that looks like a pretty good. Remember what happened with the other apps, the other website, but you know, they had it in front of an actual person's body that they were holding. I think it was 3 or 4 yarn balls. And I was very pleasantly surprised when I received them. They were exactly as ordered. They were so much softer than even I thought I was going to get. So I went, I'm incredibly pleasantly surprised by this. So it is definitely, will order again. Loved the quality, loved the colors exactly as they have on the website. Now, again, it was blacks to grays to kind of a creamy, almost white. So, you know, I haven't ordered colored yarn from them, but my friend at the market who has ordered says that, yeah, she's never been disappointed yet. There we go. And she's made 4 orders now, I think, or maybe she said 3. I can't remember. So that's all fine and dandy. Okay. So, yeah. So, take the chance if you're so inclined. Make sure you read the description. I've kind of put a few things into my basket because I think if I can afford to do it, yes, I know my yarn hoard is getting Oof, scary, but I do need to make some really nice things. With summer and then fall coming, I need some nice things on my table. So I might have stuff to make granny squares out of with little bits and bobs, but I do not know. I do not know. I don't have enough to make a lot of pretty ponchos, pretty shawls, pretty anythings. So I have decided that I do need to place a yarn order because I have, one ball of 15 different kinds that doesn't make for a shawl or sorry, I shook my table there. It doesn't make for a shawl or something that comes together nicely. I don't mind making stuff out of different colors in the same line, much like I did this. But I don't want to make stuff something nice out of 3 different kinds of yarn. One moment. Okay, I'm back. My husband just had to show me something and I heard him coming, and he's always so nice to me. If he knows that I'm making a video, he waits and waits and waits and waits. And I thought, I'm just making a granny square. It's no big deal. I don't have to make him wait. And you all are so patient with me. So I thought it's okay. I'll just put you all on hold for 2 seconds. All right. So we're back again at the beginning. See how quickly this comes together. I have not done any of this off camera because I wanted to show you how easily. We are only 26 minutes into this video and we've almost got our pocket done. And again, you can leave it this small. If this is something I can't even show you, oh, there we go. Because I know my phone fits on top of this, I could leave it this size. But again, I don't want somebody to feel, I'm going to put my phone in there, it's going to fall out. Because I know that iPhones and the regular Galaxies and some of the other brands are a little bit bigger than this. And I don't want them to be going, no. So I am going to be putting a couple more rounds on this. But at 26 minutes, this pocket is almost as big as you would need it. I can put my hand, okay, but I can put my hand in here and be cozy. I can put my hand in here and then use that to snuggle my shawl, okay? But I do think that I'm going to be making, let's see, maybe just one more. Okay, so I've got my hook through my first. I'm going to pull a loop through, grab a loop, and pull through both, okay? And I'm going to flip so I don't forget to flip. So I think that probably... I always measure it with my hand, as long as it's wide enough, because I don't have little itty bitty feminine hands. I never have. I'm a farm girl from way back and I've never had little itty bitty feminine hands. So as long as I can put a fist and have room on both sides, I'm fine. But I excuse me. Oh, my allergies are just driving me crazy these days. One moment. There we go. Sorry about that. I just had to take a little drink. All right. So, like I said, if I can fit my fist in here, because if it's chilly or if you need a little huggly or whatever, I mean, let's be honest, shawls are good for huggles. I know that my grandsons, I didn't have one made when my granddaughter was here when she was little itty bitty, but I've held babies at the market, and yeah, they're fine with their little itty bitty blankets, but the second you put a shawl on, they just huggle in. It's not even a hug, or it's like a cuddle hug, and they're happy and they're comfortable, and they immediately go to sleep. Especially if mom's had a tough time putting baby to sleep. I find putting a shawl on and huggling a baby, okay, you immediately get sleep time happening. Immediately. It doesn't matter how cranky baby is, within 10 minutes, baby is sleeping soundly. And it doesn't matter what's going on around us. There could be noise like you would not believe going on. Babies are still snuggling. Huggling. I love that word, huggle. I don't even know when I came up with that. I think my grandma might have used it. Anyway, I digress. So having said all of that, I'm going to add one more round to this, because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds. I think I'm going to stop it at 6. Okay, because that's going to give me a little bit more room here, a little bit top and bottom. you know what? I think I can live with that. And then all I'm going to do, I'll come back when I'm done this round. So again, I'm pulling up a loop, doing the twist, putting it through, grabbing a loop, pull through two, pull through two. And I'm hoping that that wonderful subscriber who thought I was doing witchcraft when I was doing the standing double has slowly learned how to do the standing double. I do it in almost everything. Almost everything. I'm making a pattern right now for my table. It's not even a special order, and it is absolutely gorgeous. But I do not like how her ends come together, like the sides. This is what I think my sides should look like. You know how nice and even that is, and how pretty that is. And it doesn't matter which side, it should be like that, as close to it as possible. So if I have double crochets along the edge, and I've done the chain 3 and then gone forward, I find that I have big gaps, and then I have no gap, and then I have a big gap, and then I have, I don't like it. I don't like it. So I will show it to you. I do have to ask the creator of the pattern if I'm allowed to put it onto my YouTube channel. I have not done that yet. Sorry, everyone. But I will. Oh my goodness, my chair is out too far. 1 second. There we go. So I will have to message the creator and ask if it's okay if I put her finished product on my video. And I will absolutely link her page. Some of her patterns are absolutely gorgeous. Some of them don't appeal to me, but that doesn't mean that they won't appeal to somebody else. But some of her patterns are stunningly beautiful. And I would encourage you to head over there. I'm sorry, I do not remember her webpage just offhand. She does also do videos on her webpage. So again, I do have to ask her if I'm allowed to use her finished product in one of my videos. So I will do that. No, Penny Bear, you got to wait a minute. So I will do that, and then I will hopefully be able to bring that down here when it is done. It is much like this. Oh goodness, I have an itchy nose. It is much like the sweater shawl without the sleeves, but it has the neatest little thing that you can tuck one side of the shawl into this little loopy thing, and then you don't have to have a pin, and it doesn't fall off, and all of the things. So it's like super cute, and I kind of fell in love with how pretty and lacy the design was. So I shall message her today and ask if I'm allowed to post her finished product on my YouTube video, and then obviously, tag her in it, because again, she's got gorgeous patterns. All right, so I'm almost done here. I will leave you until I get back to my initial starting corner, and then I shall finish it off for you, and then we will sew it. Yes, we have to sew it. We will sew it onto the shawl. All right, so I'll be back shortly. Okay, so I kind of cheated and got my shawl. So that's it there in the puddle. And as you can see, I have a really nice size granny square. Let's fix up my phone there. There we go. And again, I can't quite fit my entire hand in there, but I know, and I did not bring a phone down here. I should have brought my husband's phone down here. Sorry about that, everyone. But I know for a fact that, it's going to fit a pretty good size phone in there. Right? And I like this. So I'm just going to finish it. And what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to do that single crochet to join, and then I'm going to flip. Now, at this point, you don't have to flip. I just like to finish it off the same way I started it. At this point now, you can do slip stitches. So you would go back into this first one, and then slip stitch, and then into the next one. Oopsie. Into the next one and slip stitch, and into the next one and slip stitch. And all that does, okay, if you continue doing that, all that's going to do is it's just going to give it a really nice, oopsie, split the yarn. There we go. A really nice tight border. Okay. You can see I'm only yarning over. I'm only yarning over the very one time, and then that's it. Okay, that is a slip stitch. And as you can see, it does put a nice edge on it. It's almost like it gives you a double edge. But it also gives you a very tight edge, a very nice tight edge. I kind of wanted this one to become a little bit bigger, so I'm going to take that out. And I am going to actually There we go. I am going to actually chain one, and I'm going to single crochet. So just like in that very, very first video with the chains and the singles, all I'm going to do is just single crochet around. What that does, again, it just gives me a nice border. It kind of tightens everything up a bit, gives it a little more structure, a little more firmness, and that's all good. Okay, so all I'm doing is just doing a single crochet border. Come on, there we go. Around. And it's just, like I said, it's going to give some structure to it. It's going to give me something to sew through, especially, when you're kind of fiddle-farting around. Sorry about that phrase. I don't normally say that one online. But when you're kind of fiddling around with the other side, sewing it on here, it just gives you a little bit more structure to make sure that those stitches are going to stay put. Okay. So again, all I'm doing is going around. The only difference between this and, say, a blanket border or a shawl border, like we just did, of the single crochet is in the corners. That is the only difference. Again, because I don't need to have as sharp a corner as I would, say, on the shawl. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to get to my corner here. There we go. Last single, and now I'm at my corner, my very first corner. All I'm going to put in here is one single crochet. That's it. Done. And again, what that's going to do is it's going to give it a nice, it's not going to be as pointed a border, okay, as it would be, say, on here where you have that nice point, but it is going to give me that structure that I want for this pocket. Okay, so go ahead and continue doing that all the way around, and I shall meet back up with you at the beginning. Okay. Alrighty, so I am just about at the end. I want to make sure I want to get to that very last stitch. So there's 1, there's 2, and there is 3. Now I want to come into my corner, and I want to do my last single crochet. Technically, I won't actually, no, because the other corners only have 1. So because I've got this last one done, I'm just going to go into that first single crochet, and I'm going to slip stitch. Okay. Now, because I want to be able to sew this on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave myself a really long tail. So I'm just going to chain 1 because I want that completely secure so it doesn't come out. And I'm going to give myself a good long tail because I'm going to be sewing. Okay, your first one is already done. Now, obviously, it took a little longer because we're at 37 minutes. Had I been doing this all on my own, I would already be on the sewing. But again, I did it a lot slower and everything else. So there is our pocket. Okay, it's a nice size. For, you're cold and you want to do that. It's a nice size for that. It's a nice size for a phone. It's a nice size for a smaller wallet. But if you're just popping out somewhere and you don't want to take your purse and all of that, you tuck your cards in and maybe a little cash in here. Be very careful because if your cash is rolled, it will slip through. Okay. And again, because these are a lot bigger, people are going to be able to see what's in your pockets if they look close enough. But let's take a look at our shawl. And what we're going to do is we're going to find the opposite side. I know this is kind of on the top, right? It's kind of on the top, but this is our right side because we can see that our stitches are kind of leaning this way. So this is the right side. This is the wrong side. Okay. There is that tiny bit of difference. So if I turn this around, okay, and show you the same thing, it's a very, very different look, okay, because there's our stitches there. They're leaning towards the front, but I want the opposite side. Now, if I come down to my wings of my shawl, there we go. There is where's the center? There it is. So here's my center. I'm going to come all the way around down the wing, right to the bottom. Now, when I tried this on my dressmaker's dummy, I discovered that it was a little shorter than I did actually want, but it's okay because I also know that with wear, this will stretch. With washing, it will stretch. So it's fine. I think I kind of like the way it is. So now I'm just going to decide where I want my pockets. Remember I used the word huggle before? You know what? Everybody deserves a good huggle. I don't care who you are. Everybody deserves a good huggle. And if that huggle has to come from yourself, well, then let's make that an availability to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of follow. Oops, there we go. So I want the top, and again, remember I said the right side and the wrong side. So here's my right side. You can see the front of the stitch. If I turn this around, there's the back of my stitch. Okay. I want the front of my stitch looking at me because I'm going to have the back facing the back of my shawl. And that way, if somebody does happen to see this, they're going to go, oh, it looks exactly like the front. And it's not going to look funky. Okay. That's just my preference. If that's not to your preference and you would rather have the back side out, that is fine. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But now I want to decide where I want my pockets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause you for 2 seconds. I'm going to slap my shawl, back onto my mannequin, my dummy. Am I allowed to say that word? I don't even know. I know there used to be called dressmakers dummies. Maybe they're called mannequins now. I will use that. Yes, that is my thought process. Sorry, everyone. That is what my brain goes through all the time whenever I'm making a video. So I'm going to pause you for 1 second while I put this back on my dressmaker's mannequin. Anyway, whatever. My brain is going sideways again. And I'm going to find the best place for my pockets. All right, so hang on 2 secs. Okay, so now I'm sorry about the shadows. Let me just turn on my light here as I show you my entire messy room. There we go. Maybe that's a bit better. And really do need to get better lighting in here. Now I've kind of put this back a little bit. There we go. I've kind of put this back a little bit so that it looks like it's on a bit of a bigger mannequin. Okay, it is not. It's the same mannequin. I've just put the edges of it back. So if I flip her around, you can see it really does. It does bulge out in the back here. And again, on a person who is real and not a, yes, I know, Penny Bear, good girl. We'll go outside in a minute. On my dressmaker's mannequin, this is how it kind of would look more on a real person. Okay, so you've got that beautiful collar look there and all that. But now where do I want to put my pockets, right? So having said that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of look at myself and go, if I was wearing this, how could I huggle myself on a colder day or a sadder day, not a satter day, a sadder day where I need to have a little huggle, a little pick me up that, you know, maybe I'm busy and things have gotten in the way of life and whatnot. So here's the deal, everyone. What we're going to do is I'm just going to grab I'm sorry, one moment. I'm not very good at this yet. I apologize. Oh, gosh. There we go. There's one. I'm going to grab a handy dandy marker, stitch marker. So all it is literally just a piece of extra yarn that I had from this. And I'm going to find where I think the best spot for a pocket is. And again, once you're wearing this, again, it's going to stretch out. You can see how much it stretches. That is going to happen as you're wearing it naturally. And again, it's totally fine. That's what it's designed to do, right? Oops, turn you back around. There we go. But where do I want my pockets? So I think that if I was to take and start my pocket, oh, excuse me, nose, itchy nose again. If I were to start my pocket right about here, okay? And again, this is a bit of a loosey-goosey measurement, but we are going to make sure that both sides are the same, okay? So because this already naturally folds over, I don't want my pocket on the edge. And because we've got so much available pulling huggly room, what I think I'm going to do is, as my shawl lends itself to being straight, okay, and again, these are rows, right? So they're kind of almost a roundish, so they're not going to be completely square. Yes, Penny Bear. And so I don't want, I'm sorry, just one moment, everyone. All right, hopefully that will help. All right, now, Because I want them where it's going to kind of be a bit more straight, because I'm going to have them coming straight down. So again, if you're wearing it and you just want to tuck something in there, you don't want it at an angle, okay, so that everything can fall out. So you want to kind of put it where it's going to be straight. So here to me looks like the perfect place that if I do need some huggle time, or if I'm just wearing it and walking with my arms down straight, this is still going to be fine because it's still going to be over me. Okay? Does that make sense, everyone? And that's how I decide where I put my pockets. So I'm not going to put it right at the edge. I'm going to put it over here. So I'm going to take my stitch marker and I'm going to put it, hopefully I can do this one-handed. Oh, no, I can't apparently. Come on. Alrighty. There we go. Okay, so my stitch marker is approximately where I want the top of the pocket to be. Now I'm going to bring my pocket over here. Good girl, Penny. Good girl, baby. I'm going to bring my pocket over here and I'm going to measure it. And as you can see, if I put it right there, that's going to come right to the bottom edge of that shawl. I don't 100% know. Once we get it sat down, I think we'll end up moving it up one row on the shawl itself. Okay, so enough of making you all dizzy. Sorry about that. Still not very good at this camera stuff. So I'm going to pause you again, take my shawl off my dressmaker's mannequin, and I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. Took a little longer than I planned again. My daughter is trying to get all of her brood and her visitors. We have guests today. But she's trying to get everybody ready to go to the beach because it is an absolutely stellar day. All right, so now remember what I said about this being the flat part. Oh, goodness. This being the flat part. When I finally get it laid down, it's definitely round. It's not flat. So if I take this and I put this over there, to combat that, we could have made this round. But I don't want to do that. I do like this square look a little bit better. I've tried doing it and it's fine. It's just, whenever I've tried to make this round to match the roundness of whatever I've got it on, it never works. It ends up not being the same. So what I'm going to do is, okay, so here is my stitch marker. Excuse me. Sorry about that, everyone. And again, this is on the outside of my shawl because I had it on my mannequin on the outside of the shawl. Okay, here we go. Now I've just folded it in half, so it is exactly in half. All right, so I've taken it at the neck, bloop, there we go. And it is exactly at the middle. I've brought it down the side so that it is now exactly folded in half. Because I do want my pockets in pretty much the same spot. And again, this is the outside, so I will be flipping this over in just a sec. But I want to mark my pocket spots. So I'm just going to grab another handy dandy piece of yarn. Bloop. There we go. The obligatory stitch markers, because this is where we will use them a lot. So what I want to do now is with this one, I'm going to mark where I want the pocket's outer edge to be. So I'm going to move this in just a little bit more. The reason being, when this folds over, it's hard to get that huggle feel, okay? And so because we have odd days, we have days where we're not doing so great, okay? So you know what? I think self-huggles are very, very, very important. All right, and I'm just going to leave it there. But in order to do that, I need to make sure, hang on, I've got a bit of it. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so I've got to make sure that everything is perfectly set up. So bloop, I'm going to put you up there. Yes, everything is just about perfect. I mean, nothing is ever perfect, remember, but it's pretty close. It's as close as I think we're going to get. So now what I want to do is I'm going to actually mark, and I should have turned this inside out first, and I may do that before we go too much further. Mark where I want the pockets to start. Now, ideally, okay, there we go. Ideally, you should be able to go between a granny stitch. or between a granny cluster for both sides. If you have to kind of force it to make it work, that is fine. That is totally fine. Again, what did I say? Nothing is ever going to be perfect. Nothing is ever going to work out beautifully. It can't happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my stitch markers. There we are. I'm going to turn it. Okay. This is going to be the start. So the outer edge of my pocket is going to come down here. All right. And I'm going to mark that start. There we go. Now I'm going to double check. Again, always, always, always double check. Where do I want it to start? There we go. I'm going to double check and see if I'm close enough. Oh, look, I'm exactly where I want to be. Beautiful. So I know that side works, but I do have to make sure that I mark the other side as well. So I'm just going to make sure, yes, I want that right there. Oops, right there. Okay. And again, I'm going to mark it. I'm going to tie it so I don't lose it. And there we go. Now you can pause this video so you can get your second pocket made. All right. I did not cheat. I did not make my second pocket. So I do need to make a second pocket. Or, okay, if you don't think that the people who are going to be buying your shawls, ponchos, etc., are going to need a second pocket, you can leave it at one. I find that doing it with just one is a bit odd. It's odd. And I did one shawl because that's all the yarn I had left. I did not have this great big huge leftover that I do with this one. And so I only made one pocket. And the looks I got, it was just one of those things where I was like, I'm really sorry about that, everyone. But okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my pocket lined up. Bloop. There we go. There's where I want it to go to. And as you can... Bloop. There we go. As you can see, it does not come to the bottom of my shawl. I think that's fine. Okay. Again, you want to make sure that you can have that snuggle time, that huggle time, and have everything all kind of hidden up. Okay. And I'll show you, I'm going to try to show you what I mean. I might have to get my daughter to model this, but I'm going to try to show you what I mean by doing a huggle in a shawl. It's a wonderful thing. It really is. So now, as you can see, what I can do is I can just stretch this bottom a little bit so that it kind of comes down to a row. But what I am going to do is I'm going to grab one last stitch marker for this pocket especially. And oh, Tom, my cat his litter box is right outside this door. And oh my goodness, that is nasty. I don't know what my cat has been eating. But there is a famous show that has a song called Smelly Cat, and that is my cat right now. All right, so now what I'm going to do is, can you see this? There we go. I'm going to stick my hook right through there. I'm going to catch my stitch marker, and I'm going to pull it through, okay? Because that's where I want this to join. Then I'm going to grab it back, and I'm going to give it a tie. Because now I know where two corners need to be. All right. So this edge isn't, there we go. This edge, there. This edge is not going to get sewn, but these three edges are. We've got a nice little line we get to follow. Woohoo. We've got, we know we've got to keep things flat, at least until we get to this corner, because then our last corner, or our last side will obviously be flat. Now, before you do this, make sure all your ends are worked in. I'm so sorry, everyone. One moment. Alrighty, so we want to make sure that nothing gets bulgy outy, okay? We also have to make sure that our ends are all done. So I'm going to very, very, very quickly do this end in so that I'm not swearing at myself later because I've forgotten to do it. So, darning needle. The reason these are called darning needles, and I don't call them yarn needles, is because darning needles have that blunt end. Like I can, yes, I will get pokes, but I won't go through my skin with this one. And because I've already secured it, I have to be very careful how I move this around. There we go. There we go. That's good enough. And I'm going to give it a good tug. I'm going to go back through because I want my center to be nice and tight. Okay. Oop, just about lost it. And again, because I don't want that center to come out, I am going to go back one more time, and that way I know my center is secure. Oopsie. There we go. Okay. So I know my center is secure. I've given it a good tug. Everything is great. There we go. And now I can just lay that flat again. And now I don't have to swear at myself later. Good girl, Penny. Good girl. Yes, you can go outside soon. There we go. Okay, so now I've got everything all nice and straight. And as you can see, it kind of does not follow any specific row. It kind of looks like it might, but it doesn't. And again, that's because we did all those increases in these rows here. Okay. And so, oops, let's just move that. There we go. And again, to thread a needle, you fold it in half over the needle itself and then slip it through. And because it is still connected here in this corner, Penny, no baby, no baby. Because it's still connected in this corner, we don't have to have a knot. And that's why we always do these long ends for these pockets. They're a bit of a pain, but they're worth it. So now what I want to do is, because I kind of want to hide this, I'm actually going to sneak down, and because this is going to be a different color and I don't want this to show up top of my shawl, I'm just going to secure my corner, and that just makes that little bit disappear. Now I can get rid of this because I have secured this top corner, and I tied it too tight again. There we go. Okay. So now my top corner is secure where I want it. Yes, everything is all happy. And now I can find little spots to be able to go back and forth through. Now I do pockets a little bit differently because I don't want all of that thread to show through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my next single crochet right in there. And when you do that, what happens is, especially if this isn't a variegated, all you're going to see is just that tiny little bit there. Yes, you're going to see it. Yes, it's going to be noticeable to you, but not to a lot of other people. Now I'm going to find underneath a little bit of yarn that I can pull up, and I'm going to come back through. Come on, there we go. I'm going to come back through my next single crochet. Okay. So again, there's where I went down. Here's where I'm coming up, and I'm going to pull it through. And the easiest way to do this is on a flat surface. So if the only flat surface you have is a countertop, there's been many times I've had to stand at countertops and sew these pockets on. Okay. It's worth it. Trust me. So now I'm going to go down this next single crochet. Okay. There we go. I'm going to find a thread or two that I can bring it back up through, and I'm going to come up the next single crochet. Okay. How's that? See, now again, my stitches are kind of disappearing into that single crochet. It happens as well with the slip stitch. I find that it works a little better with the single. Okay. So again, I've come back up through this one. I'm going to go back down through the next one. There we go. And I have no idea what this is called. Mom just did it. So I have no idea what this is called. I should probably research it. And I'm going to come back up after securing it on the bottom portion of the shawl. And I'm going to come back up, and there we go. Now, if I carefully look through, there is no thread to be seen here. And that's kind of the way I want it. Now, again, I've got to make sure that I've got this done. Perfect. So now I'm going to go down through the next one. I'll do a few more with you, and then I'll let you do yourselves. And again, I can see if I get really close there. Can I get really close? Oopsies, wrong way. Can you see that? You can see that little tiny stitch, but it's not going to be super noticeable to anybody else. Okay. You'll be able to see it, and you're going to go, yeah, I can see that, Sherry. What are you talking about? But unless a hooker buys this, they're not going to know what you're talking about. Okay. And again, I'm going to come back through the next single crochet. Okay. Down through the next stitch. And this is a bit of a fiddly one, only because you don't want to go gap, 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 because then you're not going to get this nice, neat finish. Okay. So I'm going to find my next bit on the bottom that I can find, and I'm going to come up through the next single crochet. There we go. And again, down through the next one. Can everybody see that? Okay. And then I'm going to catch. Now here's where it's going to be nice, because this is all the same color. So I don't have to be quite as fiddly with it. If I really want to catch some, I can really quickly do it, because this is all the same color, which is really great. It's absolutely fantastic. There we go. And I'm going to, maybe not quite that much. There we go. I'm going to come back up. There we go. And there we go. All right. How's everybody doing now? There we go. Down. And I will leave you. And again, at the corners, you're going to continue doing that. There we go. You're going to continue doing that all the way at the corners. You can, and you probably should, unless you're at a hole here, you can make your corner here and here instead, but make sure you kind of catch this here at your corner. But you can do 2 or 3 around the corners. What that's going to do, actually, you know what? Rather than just talking about it, let's get her done. All right. So here we go. And again, I'm not pulling this super tight. I'm just pulling it tight enough that it's not coming up. Okay, because as soon as I start pulling it tight, I've got 2 layers of fabric now that are going to bunch right up. We do not want that. Do not pull this super tight. Just pull it there. Okay, so just pull it a little bit. And again, I'm going to find the next, so that I'm as close to my next stitch as possible. A couple of threads, and I'm going to come up through that next. There we go. Done. Okay. There we go. And again, I'm holding, then giving it a tug. I'm not yarding on it. Okay. Down through the next stitch. I'm going to find a couple of stitches I can go through as close to that fabric as possible. Okay. And that way your stitches remain not necessarily invisible, but pretty darn close. Like if I lift this up, you're not seeing a whole lot of stitching going on. You can here, let's see if we can do that. There we go. You can see it here, but only because this is such dark fabric. Once you get down here, it completely disappears. Okay, so now I've got to make sure everything's flat again. Alrighty, there we go. Okay, I'm going to stick it through. And the reason I actually pull it through is so that I can take a second, pull it up a little bit, find some stitches that are close to where I want them, and then I can come up through that next stitch. Okay? And make sure, not like me where you miss one. Okay, can you see that? What I did there? I kind of missed one of the threads. Like I split the yarn there. I'm not going to worry too much about it because I know that nobody's going to notice it but me. It probably will end up driving me crazy. And once I'm done this video, I'll probably end up having to take it out because it will drive me crazy. But I'm not going to do that for you all. Okay? Let's get back out there. There we go. And I'm going to come through. And as you can see, I'm just about to my corner, and then I will leave you till the end. Okay? I'm going to come back up through the next stitch. Now, this is as close to a corner. No, I can do one more. There we go. So I'm going to go down through my next one. Now, we're pretty close to that corner there. This stitch is technically the corner, but it's going to kind of catch down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to catch a couple of threads. See there? And I'm going to, excuse me, come back up. But now I'm going to cheat. I'm going to bring it over the stitch and come back, find those same threads and come around again. What that's going to do is it's going to secure that corner. I don't know about you all, but I know that with my pockets, it's the corners that always go first. Okay. So now if I have to, because of granny squares with the holes, I can miss if need be. Now with this one, it looks like I'm going to be able to do it. So I'm just going to come up. And again on this next stitch, I'm going to do the same thing. So again, I've come up through this stitch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back down over the pocket and I'm going to secure it. Now the nice thing is, because, sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. Because this is all the same color, I'm pretty secure that nobody is going to be able to see this except me. And all I've done there is I've got one before and one after, and then the one of, but the one before and the one after are double secure. Okay, so let's go to the next one. And again, oh, here comes my husband. One moment, everyone. Sorry about that. My husband just needed me. So again, because I'm working with the same color, I'm not going to be quite as persnickety as I was up top. I'm just going to start going a little bit faster now. I'm going to come down. I'm going to catch one. I'm going to catch another one, and go up to the next stitch. Okay. And as you can see, I'm not moving anything around. I'm not pulling on anything. I'm not, giving this a tug. I want this to be as close to what this has going on so that this doesn't bunch it up. Okay. As it is, because it's going to add a second layer of fabric, it is going to bunch it up already. But once I wash it, it should be fine. So again, down to the next stitch, grab a thread of yarn underneath, then grab another thread and come up top. There we go. And again, if you're doing this, let's just see nice and close here. Oopsie, there we are. You really have a tough time seeing those stitches as they nestle in with that single crochet. Okay, let's go back out. There we go. All right, so next stitch. So I'm going to leave you now. Okay. Again, just a quick rundown of the pockets. You're going to want to use at least one full hook size smaller. So if you started this with a 6, you want to use at least a 5. I used a 4.5, and I do like how nice and compact my little granny square is. Again, you want to make it as big as you think. Like if I'm careful here, I can show you, I can stick most of my hand in here before I hit the bottom. That's what I want. Okay. Again, a huggle is a good thing. I don't care who you are. So I will leave you until I get to the end. We shall knot this. And then you can do your second pocket. All right, everyone. So I hope this has been instructional for you. Okay, so here's a time. Let me just pull that in just a tiny bit. There we go. So I kind of came down a little further than I kind of wanted to. It's fine, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up a little closer, like so. Okay, and you can see I'm kind of bringing my yarn around. It's kind of underneath there. I hope you all can see that. You can see it underneath there. And then when I bring it back around like that, I can now come back up into the next stitch without it being noticeable, right? But if I would have left that and then come up, it would have pulled this up a bit, and I don't want that. So when you're doing this, take your time. This is going to be, there we go. This is going to be probably the most persnickety part of anything that you're going to do with this shawl. Okay. And as you can see, my pocket is kind of taking on the shape of my shawl, even though I didn't make it that way. That's fine. Okay. Because the more you wear it, the more it's going to take on the shape of that shawl. But again, don't pull this too tight. Don't leave it loose, because you don't want to be able to pull this out. Okay. So just snug, not tight, just snug. All right. And keep going. I shall meet up with you at the end. Okay. So now I have finished the 3 sides of my pocket. I was going to say poncho. And as you can see, I have not skimped. I have not cut any corners. I did everything exactly the same as I was showing you, because again, I don't want that to show through on the front. Okay. So now I'm at my end. Oh, as I'm losing my shawl, there we go. And it's going to be a bit of a fiddly one here, because again, you can see that my shawl curves up here, but my pocket doesn't. That's fine. I want it to stay that way. So excuse me. This is probably the only time you're going to see me be a little bit more persnickety because, again, it's a corner, and being at the top corner, I do not want this to come out at all, at all, at all, at all. So what I am going to do is I'm going to make sure as I come around that I catch the complete corner, just as if it was at the front, okay? Now everything is nice and flat, and that's the way I want it, okay? But now I think I'm good enough. I think I can be happy with that. So again, I've got 2 stitches here that I can just sneak through, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a knot there, okay? And then I'm going to take, because I really, I don't mind if my pocket is a little bit extra supported here, especially in the corner. I'm going to take and I'm going to do my ends in just along the single crochet. Okay. You don't have to, you can come down here because, let's be honest, those corners are a great place to hide ends. But I'm just going to finish them here. As you can see, it kind of wants to, as it stretches, it's going to want to come out a little bit more. It's fine. It's totally fine if it does not lay 100% flat. Like I said, nobody is perfect. I'm just going to come back through. Come on. Here we go. And I want to make sure it's gone between the stitches, not behind the stitches, because what better way to catch a nail or a zipper or what have you, if your wallet's got a zipper, you don't want that to catch anything that's sticking out. And this will stick out eventually if that happens, because 9 times out of 10 you think, oh, I've done it perfectly. It's just a little tiny bit that's sticking out. Nobody's even going to notice it. Sure as shooting, somebody's going to catch it and you're going to go, damn it! And then you're going to swear. All right, so pausing you 1 second, I'm going to put this back on my dressmaker's mannequin, and I'll be right back. So now, as you can see, I only have 1 pocket on. I apologize. I should have probably done both pockets before I did this, but I didn't. But as you can see, okay, here's where it's going to naturally want to fold over, even on a larger person, because I do have it pulled back a little bit more than I could, only because I do want to show you how it's going to lie. But through time and wash and everything else, it's going to stay flat like that. Again, lending itself beautifully to a button or a brooch or what have you. But at this point in time, I dare ya, except for the fact that I can see where it is, I dare you to find which side the pocket's on. Because ideally what you want to have happen, oh, I've got an end there. I didn't even see that. Ideally what you want to have happen is it's a hidden treasure. Okay, so here's your pocket. Again, I do not, oh, I've got remote controls though. Haha, there we go. I know they're not as heavy as a phone, but look at that. And that's a pretty long remote control. Okay, but I can tuck that into that pocket because of where it is. Yes, it's going to pull forward because it's just small. But if I actually have a phone in there, let's just try putting another, I've got 2 remotes down here. I don't know why. And there we go. Now that's pretty heavy and it's still, hang on, let's push this back over. Now, if you're wearing it, if it's been washed, there we are. Okay. That's not bad. You can see it here, right? But it's not, especially if we have that second pocket on, it doesn't pull it out of shape a whole lot. Okay. And that's what we want. So now I think that I'm going to leave you there because now you can finish your second pocket. Remember, oh, that's what that is. It's not an end. That's my marker. Silly Sherry. You can see where the second one's going to go. You've got it marked. Everything's all good. I'm going to go ahead and finish this now so I can wash it and get it ready for Friday. And it's terribly crooked. That's okay. There we go. Now, as you can see, when you get it all done, yes, it does weight that down. But that one remote control is a seriously old one. So it's a lot heavier than I thought. But again, once you've got both pockets on, once you've got your hands in, you're able to then do one of these, especially if you're having a day, and you're able to give yourself a good huggle. Okay? And that, to me, is the best part about wearing a shawl, is the huggles. So go ahead, give yourself a good huggle, and I shall see you next time. My next video is going to be the rectangle granny. I think I shall do I shall start both the modern granny as well as the regular granny in a rectangle in the same video, but I will give you timestamps. I hope. Okay, so I shall leave you. I shall bid you adieu. Have a warm and wonderful huggle day. My name is Sherry, and I am addicted to yarn.